Hi, I'm LaWanna Parker, and I am the host of Courage to Live Your Dream. This show is about a number of different things. So if you're going to tune in, you have to tune in each week because it's going to be a variety show, meaning you won't know from one week to the other what I'm going to talk about. That's because I have such an interest in so many things, I could not pin it down to one thing. Everything that I share with you will be to help you live your dreams. I believe that is so important. So sometimes you'll hear me talking about confidence, setting goals, staying motivated when it seems like everything is going wrong. You'll hear me talking about journaling, which I absolutely believe everyone should be doing because journaling is, wow, it's a way to put your thoughts down, to get in touch with who you really are. You can talk to a journal and it won't talk back. Can you believe that? And it won't call your names and say how stupid you are for thinking or feeling the way that you are. And sometimes, if you wait a while, a day or two, or maybe even a few hours, and you pick up what you've written, just might get the answer you were looking for. That's my belief that God is talking to you. Because if you won't listen in other ways, He has to find other ways to talk to you, to communicate. So I truly believe that. I accept that. And I hope that you will too. At any rate, you can try it. It won't hurt anything. I'll be sharing with you about things that you can get from journaling. And trust me, there is a lot, probably almost as many things as there are people on planet Earth. Hmm, think about that. Well, let's see now. Yes, I'll talk about astrology sometime or tarot cards another time. And my all-time favorite thing, I will talk about it. I hope it's yours too, because I just absolutely love reading romance stories. So I will talk about books that I have read. Maybe I'll share a chapter or two and encourage you to go buy the book so you can read the rest of it. Hmm, imagine that. And who knows, maybe I'll surprise you by having an author or two come on and share some of the things they've gone through when trying to write. And while I do love my romance, I also like self-help books too. I've read quite a few of them, and I know others who have written self-help books. They've written about things they've gone through and how they conquered. So I will have some of them from time to time come on, or perhaps I'll read something of their book. And again, encourage you to go buy the book so you can get the full story of what they accomplished over their adversities. It's funny how life can be. There are people who have gone through some horrible things and they come on the other side of it, having won their battles. And I like to share their stories because you may be going through the same thing and you're not sure how to get out of it. If I share the story of someone else's situation, it might be the thing that you needed to hear. That's why I believe that anyone who has a story to tell should write it. And I don't care if you publish it. Maybe you just want to put it in a journal, create a legacy for your family, leave something behind that they can remember you by. Many years ago, this is a, I'm sidestepping here a little bit, but I wanted to share about you a book I gave my son when he started kindergarten. He was so happy and so proud to be going to school, and I was so happy and proud that he was going. So I gave him a book called School Days and told him that he needed to fill that book up. Now, it started from kindergarten and it went all the way up to college. However, like most parents, when you start having children, you kind of forget things. And that was one of the things I forgot, that I had given that to him. When my son died in a car accident, and the military sent back all of his personal effects. That book that I had given him in kindergarten was among his personal effects. I had no idea that he had held onto that book all those years and put little things in it. Nothing major. There's a little note here or there, a report card showing what he had accomplished during his school year, a picture from time to time. Um, just little things that boys think about, not a lot like girls. Girls write, oh my goodness, we got to tell the world our story. But it's enough for me because with that book, I have the opportunity to experience all those things all over again with him. I get to see him grow up again from kindergarten to adulthood. I miss his presence, but I'm so thankful that he left that behind for me. It helps a great deal. And although it's been many years since he passed, I still feel the hurt. I still feel that in my heart. And you know how I mentioned, well, I didn't tell you guys, told someone else about sometimes would get upset because I didn't hear God talking to me like he did to other people. But when I lost my son, and one day I was sitting at work, honestly, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise, I sincerely believe it, that I heard my son's voice as he asked me the question, why are you upset? I'm in a better place and you're going to be blessed. I couldn't imagine why I would have that type of a message. But you know what? I was blessed. So I'm believing that my son is truly in a better place. I was blessed with a grandson. From the moment I walked in that hospital and saw him in that big hospital bed, I knew, I knew I would be raising him. And sure enough, I raised him from the baby to adulthood. And he reminds me so much of his uncle, who he never, of course, met. But there's so much about the two of them that's alike that I like to believe that because he left so soon that maybe he came back again in the form of my grandson. I don't know if that's true or not, but it helps. And my grandson was a blessing to me to raise all those years, and he continues to be a blessing. He continues to worry about me, especially since his grandpa, my husband, passed away. He's always concerned about what I'm doing and what's happening. And I appreciate that. But I keep telling you, you got to go live your own life, do your own thing. Well, that's a part of journaling, what my son left for me. It's also one of the first things that crossed my mind when it came to me that I should be teaching journaling. And I remembered that book. And I went and got it out. I looked at it and I thought, this is what I need to be teaching people to create their own legacy that they can leave behind for others. I have a friend who shared with me about, this was before I ever met her. Her husband died of cancer, but her son was having a really rough time handling it. And someone told him he should write down his thoughts and feelings of what he was going through as he watched his father pass. I mean, it's horrible when someone dies of cancer. To see them, it's like they're fading away in front of you. And I know this because my husband died of cancer. I saw this big 6'3" guy who weighed 250 pounds go down to almost skin and bones. And it was a hurting thing to see that happen to him. And that's what her son was going through, watching his father go from the man who had loved him and did things with him, suddenly could no longer do anything for himself. And he still loved his dad and he didn't know how to handle it. So he started writing his feelings, his thoughts. And she tells me that eventually he put that together and he had it published. And I forget the exact title. It was something through the eyes of a teenager. But yeah, she said that helped him so much that he was able to write his thoughts and feelings on paper to get it out of his system. And that's one of the things that about journaling that is so important, because it helps you when you have all these things. Do you realize that some of the stuff we carry around within ourselves that leads to bad health? When you can just put it on paper. You don't have to write every day. You don't have to write a full page. Write a couple of lines if that's all you feel like writing. You could write once a day, once every 3 days, once a week, once a month, however you want to do. It's strictly up to you. But I'm going to share with you over the next few weeks some of the things that you can get from journaling. I encourage you to look into it. I do classes on Monday, so if you'd love to be a, well, if what I'm sharing with you is hitting a button somewhere and you think you'd like to know more about it, reach out to me. Send me an email, LaWanna at lawannaspeaks.com, and I will be happy to give you my link. We can set up an appointment to talk to see if this is what you really want. And there's no charge. And no, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. It's just to see if this is what you want. Because I don't want you to be a part of the group if you think that I am coercing you into doing something. The people I have in there, they're too important to me. We have become good friends. We share things. And whatever is shared in there stays with us. It doesn't go any further. So just wanted you to know about the journaling. You can create a legacy. You can create a book if you've always thought about writing and didn't know how to start or put a book together, what to put on the page. This group is for you because you'll have an opportunity to learn all of that and so much more, because we don't just journal. We talk about some of the very things that I will be sharing here on Courage to Live Your Dream, because I believe it's important. It all goes hand in hand, plays a big part in your life. And I love to see how you blossom. And who knows, if you decide to write a romance story, you just might become my next favorite romance author. And I would be buying your books Trust me, I have enough books that I could start my own store. On my laptop, I've got close to 8,000 books on there. In my house, I've got 10 bookshelves. There's probably about 600 books around here. And on Amazon, I've got about 1,600 books on my Amazon account. So trust me, I love reading and I especially love romance stories. So you write a good story, I will buy it. And if you're really good, I will anxiously sit here waiting for the next one to come out and be in line to buy it. See there, I spent a lot of money on books because I love them. I've been reading since I was about 9 years old. Started with fairy tales and pioneer stories and mysteries and sci-fi and self-help, and eventually I got to the historical romance, and boy, was I hooked after that. I now read a lot of contemporaries and interracial romance stories. I love those. Absolutely love those. If you haven't read one, you should start reading them. They are very good. We have some authors who obviously love writing those kinds of books, and they're good at what they do. Now, not everybody is good. That's with anything. You're not going to find everything perfect. Okay. So if you do that and you happen to get one that isn't so hot, uh, don't worry about it. Just move on to the next author. All right. And some of them are just getting started. And when you're just getting started, you're not going to be good always. Sometimes you get lucky and you put something out the very first thing and it hits. The people love it and you're able to duplicate what you did. And after that, you've got a following that every time you put out a book, they're anxiously waiting for the next one. But most of us, when we first start, we're not real good. So give a person a chance to grow and get better. I said we. I have not written a romance story. I don't know why. You would think that I would, since I read so many of them. I guess I'm one of those people who just love reading them. Although here lately, the thought has crossed my mind that maybe I should try. We'll see. Maybe I'll challenge myself to do that, but not right now. Got too many other things that I'm doing. And if I'm going to write a romance, I want to devote my time to make sure that it turns out halfway decent. Okay. Oh, wow, So now you know some things about me. That's the business side. Let me tell you some personal things because I want you to come back. I want you to enjoy this program. And yes, sometimes I will interview people, but for the most part, I'm not going to be doing that because let's face it, I like talking too much. Okay. So I kind of want to keep the time for myself so that I can talk and share the things that I know or that I have learned. And there is a lot. Okay. So first off, let me get started here. Believe it or not, I was a very quiet, shy person growing up. Really super quiet and shy. And I was, how do I describe this? Because it's kind of confusing. Because I was quiet and shy, people didn't always know how to take me. So some summers, people were practically dragging me out the house to come out and play. And other summers, they would just leave me alone to do whatever it was I wanted to do, which was reading books, looking at Westerns, because I grew up when Westerns were the number one thing on TV. And trust me, I looked at almost all of them. even though I had to sit there in front of the TV because we didn't have remote control and flip the channel from station to station to see what was going on in the other Western. I love like sci-fi programs and romance comedies. I love General Hospital. When General Hospital came out, I believe I was 15 or 16 years old, and I just loved it. It was only on for 15 minutes a day, and it was in black and white. They eventually expanded to 30 minutes and then became an hour as it is now. In the same way, when later, when All My Children and One Life to Live came on, they were both 15 minutes in the beginning. Then they went to half an hour and then an hour. So I've been around for a long time. And as I like to tell people, I was born in the first half of the last century. Okay. Now, how much into that last century? Yeah, I'll tell you one day, not today. Okay. So growing up that way, I, as a teenager and whatnot, because I always had my head in a book, people thought I was a bookworm, or as you call them today, nerd. Okay. What they didn't know was that it wasn't the educational material I was reading. I was either reading a book or a comic book because I discovered comics when I was 12, I think it was. I knew about Batman and I knew about Superman and Captain America and Captain Marvel. But I found out about Marvel comics and I fell in love with those characters that Marvel came up with. Wow, Fantastic Four and Thor and the Hulk and Captain America. My gosh, there were so many characters that they came up with. Later it was Spider-Man, and I just love them because Marvel made their characters seem more realistic. And something that happened 2 books before, they might mention in another story 2 or 3 books later. So it was like they intertwined things. Whereas with DC Comics, everything ended. It was the end and like started over all again. Really didn't like that. But then there was also, let's see, that was Patsy Cline. No, Patsy, oh, I can't remember her last name. But it was a comic book, and there was Katie King comics. And of course, I read the Archies. I'm telling you, I was a reader. I truly love reading. And so people thought I was a lot smarter than I really was because they weren't paying attention to what I was reading. And I continued that as an adult. And when my sister got married, her husband found out how many comics I had. And I had this collection in this big suitcase that was almost like a trunk. And he asked if he could read them. And like a dummy, I let him take the whole thing. I mean, he's my brother-in-law. He's gonna bring them back, right? Wrong. I never saw those books again. He always had an excuse. And eventually I realized I was not getting my comic books back. He and my sister, they ended up getting a divorce. So that was the end of that. Wow. You didn't want to know all of that, did you? Well, I did get married, and I was married to one man for over 50 years. 50 years, 4.5 months to be exact. Between us, we had 4 boys. When we got married, we came into the marriage, each one of us had a son, and together we had 2 more sons. I raised a niece, and then later we raised our grandson. I lost my husband to cancer. It's almost 2 years ago now. I do miss him being around. Um, he uh, he was a decent man. I'm I have to tell you because he never complained about me being an active person. I mean, I was involved in so many things, and he never complained. He just always said, "Just remember, you are married, and there's nothing open after 2 o'clock in the morning except motels and legs, and yours better not be among them." So, as long as I remembered that I was married, he was okay with whatever I wanted to do. So I'm thankful for that, and I never felt the need to go out looking for anyone else. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I didn't look. I mean, gosh, all these good-looking guys walking around, of course I looked. I didn't act on the looks though. Alright. So we had over 50 wonderful years, and I'm sorry that he's no longer with me. I miss him, truly miss him. But he left me 4 sons, well, 3 sons, because one is gone. 3 sons, 15 grandchildren, and so far 7 great grandchildren. So plenty of company. And this the only reason that I'm still here in California. I have all these grandchildren and great grandchildren. Otherwise, I would be following everyone else, moving to Texas or Louisiana, maybe even Nevada. I don't know. 'Cause I just would like to leave here. I'm just tired of California. Okay, enough about me. You'll learn other things over the next few weeks uh, as we as you tune in to my program. Again, this is Courage to Live Your Dream. I'm LaWanna Parker. I am the host, and I'm also the co-founder of Courage to Live Your Dream. We are a part of the Raven International Media Network, and you can find us on iHeart, America. Let's see, Amazon Fire and Roku, just to name a few. Okay, so thank you for joining me, and I look forward to you coming back next week. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I haven't decided yet, so you're just going to have to tune in to find out. And I hope that you like it enough that you want to stick around and hear the whole thing. It won't be boring, okay? Today was important for you to get to know who I am and what I'm about and what this show is going to be about. So each week you will have to tune in to find out what's going to be happening the next week. Because if I tell you that we're going to talk about one thing and something else more exciting comes along, I don't think I could wait a second week to tell you. I want to tell you right then. So until next time, please, 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 please stay safe. Take care of yourself. Remember, COVID is still running rampant. So don't get overly confident and think you're going to be all right or nothing's going to happen to you. Stay safe and always keep the faith. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Courage to Live Your Dreams. We are a show where we talk about just about anything. As I've let you know before, it could be on the subject of motivation, confidence, how to start a business, astrology, books, because you know I love books. So whatever the subject that comes up, and I have an interest in it, we will be discussing on this show. So because I don't tell you in advance what it is, you are going to have to check in every week to make sure you don't miss something that could be of vital importance to you. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Ruby Figueroa, and Ruby is a travel agent. But more important than that, Ruby has a message that she wants to share, especially to our young people. So I'm going to have Ruby share with us how she got started in the travel business, and then tell us about this special youth group that you would like to work. I said youth group, I meant young people that you would like to work with.
Well, LaWanna, thank you for having me. And when I say young people, I mean anybody under 70 is young for me.
You and me both.
I'm 81, so anybody under 70 is young. But how I got started in the travel industry, somebody said to me before, you're always traveling. You love to travel. You should be in the business. And thought about it and I said, it makes sense. If I like doing what I like doing and other people also want to do that, it sounds like a great business for me. And that's how I got started.
But
Just as simple as that.
you make it sound so easy to just make the decision and then get started. Uh, is there a lot involved? For example, big investment, some training? What's involved to get started on a travel business?
Actually, it is really as simple as your liking to do something that other folks want to do. Because I say to people all the time, if you like travel, then you should definitely be in the industry, because travel, as you know, is has become one of the largest industries in the world. It is absolutely fun, it is educational, and it is very lucrative. So I say to young people, because what I've found is young people want experiences, they don't want things. For instance, I can't give my children my crystal because they don't want it. And you probably know what I'm talking about. We accumulated things because we thought that was what we were supposed to do, but they don't want things. They want to experience things. So that's why I'm constantly looking for young people. But you asked me, is there a large investment? No, there is not a large investment at all. The investment is your time. It's your time that you invest in, and anything that you're going to do and do well, you need to invest in it. And I always say to people, work as hard for yourself as you would for somebody else. Work as hard for yourself as you would for somebody else, because so often we get involved in things and we don't take it seriously. We just sort of let things happen. No, any successful business cannot just happen. You have to put effort into it. But the one thing about this industry, when you're putting that emphasis into it, you're getting to travel. The first time I traveled, LaWanna, was uh, almost 50 years ago.
Mhm.
Our son, who is going to be 49 on July 31st of next year, my husband went to Switzerland, where he went to Europe. And I asked the doctor if I could travel. And he said, yes, you can go to Europe. And I went to Europe with him when he was 5 weeks old.
Oh,
And I would just get out every morning and I had him on my chest, because that's how I carried him. And I would get on the public transportation and I just loved it. And we went from Switzerland, we went to Germany, then we went on to the UK, and I was hooked.
so did you take many pictures that you could create a journal?
I didn't at the time, I didn't even think about it. We have some, but I didn't think about it. It was just so exciting for me to be able to get out from the hotel, because he would always be at his place where he was doing some training for something. And I would just go out, and it was such an experience because, at that time, the only time they saw Black people in Europe were if they were military.
Um,
So they always thought that I was military.
mhm.
And they were fascinated because I had a huge afro. And they would actually walk up and touch my hair. you know, but I understood it and I didn't get upset about it, and they would just pull the baby's things from around them just to look at him, and they were just fascinated with us.
Well, you're talking about in Europe. I remember when I went to a little small city in Illinois, Decatur,
Mhm.
Illinois, and everybody in town knew who I was because I was the only woman in town wearing an afro. I, I had come there for a visit with some friends, and I
Uh-huh.
ended up staying. And the lady that I was staying with kept telling me, "You need to change that hairstyle. People don't wear their hair like that." Oh my gosh, that brings back so many memories.
I
But
know.
but we're here to talk about your traveling business.
Right.
With COVID, have you seen a deep, well, they say that COVID is going away, but you can't tell it on my end. It seems like out here we keep getting new cases.
Hmm.
Has the traveling started picking up? Are you getting business now, or are they still a little leery about going
Some
anywhere?
some people are a little leery, but I actually have 5 trips booked for next year because people have decided that they want to travel. And you've heard that the airports are full.
Mhm.
The airlines are booking again, double booking people again. So people have actually started to travel. They are going. Now, my first entry into entrepreneurship was not travel.
Mhm.
I got involved in entrepreneurship because well, as I said, we had 2 children, and I decided I wanted to be home. And so I started doing in the home demonstrations for an old company called Stanley Home Products. And most of the young folks have never heard of Stanley Home Products.
That is an old one,
It's an
yes.
old one. And I did in the home demonstrations, but I did them. And every time I would go into a lady's house, I would say to her, "I'm here to work for you tonight. And if you're interested in getting into the business, I'm working for you. You're going to get the monies for tonight, and and we would say, book the parties for the next one with the lady." And that's how I got started. And I went from doing that to one of 12 region vice presidents in the entire company, and,
Wow.
and the only Black one. But that was because I always knew that you're only going to earn so much money with your own 2 hands.
Mhm.
I also knew I couldn't sell to everybody. I would never meet everybody. And I do the same thing with travel. When I started in the travel industry, and I fully got started in 2018, because I was in from 2008, but I was still traveling with Stanley Home Products. I had territory that ran from Maine through Ohio. So
Wow, you mean to tell me that Stanley is still in business?
not anymore. That's why 2018 I transitioned fully to travel, because Stanley went out of business. Stanley was an old company that couldn't keep up with what's going on today. You and I know that people don't they don't care for things the way they used to. I
Oh,
mean, we had brooms that would last 15 or 20 years. Well, now folks just go and get another one and another one. We had products that were concentrated, and they go to the store and they'll buy the dollar products, not realizing that they're losing a lot more by buying them. But that's what has happened.
mhm.
So I got fully entrenched in travel in 2018, and I love to travel, but I love traveling more with people. I like taking people with me on vacation because it's just such an experience, and it's just such joy because people like to travel and they like to travel with other people. Most folks won't think of going to Africa by themselves. I've gone to Africa 5 times and I've taken groups with me each time that I've gone.
Mhm.
We got back in the country on March 13th of 2020, and there were a group of 32 of us. We went to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And the reason, LaWanna, that I like taking people with me is because I never have to pay for my vacation.
Well, that is a great reason to do that, but it's also a way to have more enjoyment because you can point things out to one another and discuss them. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Africa, but I gotta tell you, I am not a person to get on a plane. I'm sorry. And I'm not getting on a cruise ship either because I had a bad experience with water that just not gonna do it.
You mean
Sorry about that.
you mean you won't go to Africa with me?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You take some pictures, do some movies, and get on Zoom, and I'll look at it with you. Yes, my children get after me about that very thing. I had one son wanted to pay for me to come over to Pearl Harbor when he was stationed over there, and
Mhm.
I turned him down. I told him as soon as they build a road, I drive over there. You know, I'd be happy to come over there. And then I had two sons that was stationed in Germany, and they tried to get me to come, and no, 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 no. And another one whose wife used to win trips, cruise trips all the time, and and they kept trying to get me to go with them all the time. No, 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 no. You guys have a wonderful time. I'll stay here. You can bring back the pictures, and I'll just enjoy it just as much watching those pictures. Mhm.
Well, no, I love to travel. And my husband and I have been traveling, as I say, for more than 50 years. And well, it's going to be 50 years in July of next year. And we have a cruise going to Alaska to celebrate our 50th anniversary with a group going with us. So those are the kinds of things that I like to do. I like getting out with others and really enjoying.
Wow. Now I would love to see Alaska. Oh my gosh. Every time I see the advertisement about Alaska and I think, oh, it must be so beautiful there.
It
It's the
is.
last frontier for
It
us, you know,
is.
and
It
oh,
is.
to be a part of history, like just going to visit is would be
Yeah.
amazing to me.
And this
But
will be our second trip to Alaska
well,
because we took a group there before. And we're taking another group again because we thought about it. We said, you know what? This is our 50th anniversary.
mhm.
Let's take some people to Alaska with us. And we've got a group going.
Oh, I know I'm missing out on so much. It's a shame. But
Well,
you should
think
take some
about it.
great pictures because you know what? I'm sure there are others like me who, a little leery about getting on planes and whatnot. In fact, I thought I had this great idea. And I thought because they have the Queen Mary down in Long Beach, and I thought, why don't they take a yacht? It doesn't necessarily have to be that one. It could be anywhere. And do all the simulation as if it was actually going out to sea. We have all the amenities that you guys enjoy when you're out there on that cruise ship. Enjoy the meals and everything else. Just let the ship stay stationary.
Don't move. Don't move.
Oh wow. I am just amazed at anyone that does that. But you are a person who started very on realizing that you needed to be in business for yourself. And you not only realized, but you stepped out there and you did something about it.
Right.
What would you tell someone who is thinking about it, sitting on the fence, coming up with all kinds of reasons why they shouldn't? and yet they want it so badly. What would you tell that person?
Well, I would tell first, I say to people, have you ever dreamed of traveling to one of your bucket list destinations and you want to know how to have somebody else pay for it for you? So, but seriously, I would tell them, hey, it works. It works because if you want to do something, the chances are pretty good there are other people who want to do it also.
Mhm,
And as I say, I want young people. I want young people because, you've heard me say before that they are the ones that have the children. They are the ones that are the teachers. They are the counselors. They are the football or basketball coaches and whatever. They're dealing with the young children. And LaWanna, I am firmly convinced that our children don't do as well as so many others because they don't travel.
mhm,
And if children don't travel, they tend to get mired around down in the minutia of
mhm,
what's going on around them. So when I told you we took our children traveling, and not only did we take our children, but if we were going someplace and it didn't cost any more money, for instance, we went to Maine for 11 years in a row, and we took our children there because somebody my husband worked with would give us a cabin on the lake and
mhm.
a boat on the lake. Well, Black children didn't get to do this. So we would take our children, but we would have each one of them bring a friend with them.
Mhm.
And the reason was because, hey, it gave us more freedom because they had somebody to entertain them while we were doing whatever we wanted to do.
Mhm.
But those are the kinds of things that children do. And I tell people, because I had a brick and mortar in New York for a number of years, and I would say to them, listen, just take the children on the subway, go downtown, put them on the circle line. And I know you're not going to get on there, LaWanna, but just put them on the circle line and have them go around New York. It just makes a difference in the lives of children when
What is
they,
the circle line before we?
the circle line is one of those ships that sail around the city. People go on it, yeah. And you might like something like that
Yeah,
because
actually,
they don't go out in the ocean. They just sail around the city and come back. It takes about 2 or 3 hours,
mm,
but it makes a difference to children what to do just those sort of things because
I actually have done that. We have,
yeah,
um, in Old Sacramento, we have a ship, I forget what it's called, and it would travel only so far out and then
right.
turn around and come back in. And our job, the job I was working on, we were doing what we call office week, where we had all of the employees from other states would come in, and we had our little meetings, but it usually would last a week, and we would have all these things that they could do. Well, this particular time, this was one of the things that our meeting planner set up for us to do. I was not going to get on there. I cannot believe two people took me by each arm and somebody behind me pushed me and made me sure I got on. But I do have to admit, I enjoyed the ride.
Right.
It was nice, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Little things like that can make a difference in the
Mhm,
life of a child.
mhm,
Our daughter rather, is a social worker, and she
mhm,
works with the homeless. And they, of course, are the most vulnerable children around.
mhm. Yes.
And she's always looking for things that to help them to grow. And she took them on a little nature trip one day, and they were
Mhm,
coming alongside a brook coming down on the bus, and one of the kids got very excited and he yelled, "Look, guys, Mrs. Parker took us to see the ocean." And it was, every time I think about it, I become emotional because so many of our children don't see anything larger than a community pool if they are fortunate enough
Mhm.
to have a community pool. So, that's why I say I'm looking for those young folks because they can help, they can change some things in the community because children that travel they don't get involved with the minutia that's going on because they look forward to something. And I tell people just to get a passport for a child means that you give them expectations because if they've got a passport, they're expecting to use it. And it can keep them from getting involved in some things that is detrimental to their well-being. So that's why I'm looking for those young people to do something like that. Take the children.
Well, I applaud you on that. I know personally that it can make a difference.
Mhm.
I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in the projects and we had a Baptist center. And I was fortunate enough that the minister there helped me to be a part of a number of different things that I otherwise would not have. I got to go to camp one time, spend a week at camp. There's no way if he hadn't made the arrangements that would have happened because my mom
Right.
certainly didn't have the money. I got to go to see a local opera one
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
Nutcracker, I
Mhm.
remember, and a number of a little thing that minister did in that community. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the kids that was selected to go and take part in those things. And I honestly believe it helped shape the
Who they
direction
are.
that I went
Absolutely.
and kept me out of other things that
Absolutely.
led me into a whole different era in my life. And sometimes when
Absolutely.
it's just the two of us, I'll tell you about some close calls I
Well,
had.
I absolutely believe in that. And my daughter had a little young boy, and I didn't even realize that he was one of hers. So he would come in the shop and he would pick up things. And so I said, "And what's your name?" And he told me his name. And I would started buying fruit. And he would come in and he would pick up fruit and he would say, "Can I take some to my sister?" And I say, "Yes." And so one day he was in the shop and my daughter walked in and she said, "Sean," she said, "I didn't know you know Mrs. Figueroa," because she always made sure that they didn't know we were related.
Mhm.
So he said, "Yo, yes." And so he came. She had a little class going at the library with the children. And so he had stopped by, and I had given him a little necklace from Jamaica with the black and green. So he
Mhm.
walked in, and the kid said to him, "Nation, where did you get that?" He said, "I got it from my travel agent." And so the kid said, "Well, what's a travel agent?" He said, "I don't know, but you should have one."
So he became a kind of a little celebrity. He
That's
had done
right.
something
And we need to think about things like that. If there's
exactly.
children in the neighborhood, just like your pastor did
Mhm.
for you,
Mhm.
we need to do those kind of things with them. You
Yes, we do. And we're coming up on the end, but what you have shared with us today, I think is so important, especially for our young people, but even for adults who are looking for a business of their own. And as a person who has worked for almost 50 years for other people and who now finds herself still working when she should be relaxing, I encourage you, work hard for yourself. So tell us, how can we get in touch with you if something that you said has resonated and we want to be a part of it, even if it's just to get some more information?
Okay. Well, my name is Ruby Figueroa, and my email is Ruby, Ruby, at JRI travel.com. That's Juliet Romeo India travel.com. Ruby at JRItravel.com. And my phone numbers are 914-664-1515. And my cell is 914-500-3024. I also have a website where they can go on and leave me a message where I will reach out to them. And that is JRItraveling.com. So I thank you so much for having me on. And I do hope some people have decided this is a great industry to be in, and they can absolutely make a really good living at this while they're enjoying. And as I said to them, you have these dreams of where you want to go, let somebody else pay for it. And LaWanna,
Especially if you like traveling,
and
great way to do it.
and one thing I like to say, I tell everybody, I never go on vacations. I go on explorations because it allows me to come back and write it off on my taxes.
Okay.
So
Well, you've heard it here. Thank you so much for joining us, Ruby. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing this information with us. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are here, and if you're looking for something, this is a perfect opportunity, because not only are you working hard to help someone else, but you get to attend these things and somebody else pays for it. You can't beat that. Well, I'm LaWanna Parker, and I am the host of Courage to Live Your Dream. We are a part of the Raven International Media Network, and we hope that you will come back again next week. As I always tell you, I want you to be careful out there. Don't take anything for granted. Remember, we need you, and there's somebody else whose very life may depend on you. So take care of yourself and always, always keep the faith.
and thank you, LaWanna, and good night.
You're welcome, and good night.
Bye now.